If you're over 100,000 followers on Instagram and you want to grow your email list in 2026 and beyond, I have something to show you. This is the way that our customers have been using Interact quizzes recently to create quiz lead magnets specifically on Instagram. I want to walk you through the flow here and show you exactly how it works. So here's a reel. This is from Hadar, and this reel is talking about avoiding speaking. And then it links to a quiz. You can see here, I commented quiz, but this reel has about 200 comments on it. So 200 people have commented to take the quiz. And then you get a DM automation in your inbox. I believe this probably uses ManyChat, but you can use whatever DM automation that you use. And it goes over to the quiz. This is the Interact quiz, and you take the quiz. And it goes to this quiz here where you answer some questions that figure out why you are feeling off with your speaking. And this is a great quiz. Hadar's had this for a while, so I think this is really well done. And then this is where the email comes in. So it's at the end. It says enter your email to get your results and put in your name and your email. So I'll just go ahead and put that in, and you can see my email. And here it is. Current speaker stage. You are the influencer. You arrive at English. It has a good description. And this is how the quiz works. Now, you'll notice here, my search on Instagram is just comment quiz, which is the way that people are getting people to comment to kick off the DM automation to take a quiz. And there are a number of other ones here. This one here from the psych doctor, Sasha Hamdani. This is a really well done ADHD quiz that I think is super cool. For this one, I'll just go to the link in bio and show you her quiz because I think it's very well done. So there's two actually. It's what's my high achieving pattern, and then where should I start? So I'll click on the where should I start one, and this goes to what's your biggest ADHD challenge. You go through this one, and it's the same kind of thing. This is the trend that's been happening with everybody on Instagram who specifically over 100,000 followers, because the reason why I think that's the cutoff is like, it's not really worth the effort prior to that. Like, you're just not going to get enough comments. You're better off probably using more like manual methods. I interviewed somebody yesterday, Alyssa Zander. I can show you hers at some point, where she was saying that prior to getting to about 100,000, you're really better off with lead collection and email list growth, just doing things manually. Here's another one, Miss Claire Benjamin. This is a mistake at work quiz. And again, you can kind of see the numbers here are really good. Like this 800 comments, 124 comments on Genuinely Genesis. This is for a money archetype quiz. This one has 721. And most of these are Interact quizzes. Here's another one from Dr. Tracy D. I'd say we have about a 50% market share. And the reason why people choose to use Interact is that our integration to your email software is really simple and direct. I can show you really quickly what that looks like. So here's the software. You go ahead and you can start for free if you want. You can log in. And when you log in and you're working on a quiz, you can go to create a quiz. You can start from scratch, create with AI that pulls in your content from your website and other sources, or you can clone a template. I'll just start from scratch just to kind of show you. A lot of these are personality quizzes, which really just means like it leads you to a specific result. But the lead generation piece is what I want to show, because you can set up the opt-in form here, and then it's just really simple to connect to Flowdesk or ActiveCampaign, or Brevo is a new one, HubSpot, Kit, Klaviyo, and these are all direct integrations. These are not like placeholders where you actually have to use Zapier. They're direct, which means that everything goes straight from Interact to, in this case, Flowdesk, and you can add to different segments depending on which result somebody gets on your quiz, which is a really nice way of just automatically getting those personalized follow-ups. And then it's just super simple to get this done. And then you publish your quiz. When you publish it, you can get a direct link. So you can either just send people straight to the quiz on its own URL if you're going from Instagram, or you can embed it into your website, which I can show you another one. Well, here's the Four Tendencies one from Gretchen Rubin. This is such a good quiz. It's been around for a number of years at this point, and it's just really, really well done. I can show you Gretchen Rubin quiz. Gretchen's got a number of quizzes now. There's a novel quiz, Habits for Happiness, Five Senses, and then here's the Four Tendencies. And here's how that quiz looks. This one's 12 questions. And you'll just kind of see the pattern here. You have a reel that's talking about, in this case, I think she's talking about like the tendencies and how things impact you depending on which tendency you have, and then you comment quiz to take a quiz and figure out your tendency. So it's just like a really nice way of moving people over to an email list in a way that is really natural. This one's from Hattie Willoughby. This one is, let's see, what is this reel about? Life advice. And then you can comment quiz, and you'll see like, you don't have to use the word quiz. This one you comment unstuck, but it's the same pattern. This one from the Mind Friend. I interviewed Charlotte. She was talking about this quiz as just a really effective lead magnet. And I think the thing also, here's advice with Aaron. This quiz has brought in like 140,000 email subscribers. I interviewed her last year. The thing about this is like, it's not an all or nothing. You can use, and here's from one from Career Hannah. This one is pretty recent. It's like a week ago, and it's got 447 comments. It just works. 1,800 comments, 1,300 comments. This is a really effective strategy, and it doesn't mean that you like have to go all in on this. Again, when I talk to people on our podcast, I interview some of these folks. What they mainly say is like, it's just good to have a rotation of lead magnets, especially for Instagram, where you don't want to wear people out constantly saying the same call to action of comment to take the quiz, comment to take the quiz. Oh, here's another recent one from Sabrina Zohar. This is a archetype quiz for dating, which I think is really well. It's a good way to use a quiz. But yeah, you can use a mix of what I usually see is like guides, quizzes, workshops, live sessions, and you work them all together, and that way you kind of have a good mix of things to put out there. And in terms of the reels, it really comes down to like your style, like this this reel here from Advice with Aaron, it's very like skit style, and she's really perfected that style. It works out really well, and it's got a lot of variety too, because she can kind of act out scenarios. Gretchen here talking to camera. Genuinely Genesis is showing the different archetypes. That's another way of doing this that I've seen work really well. Who else has an interesting one? Career Hannah talking about like different careers and career changes, which then connects into her career exit quiz. Psych Doctor talking about different things that might appear if you are ADHD, especially like around the beginning of the year. And that ties into a quiz that helps you kind of unlock like which part of ADHD or which kind of thing is showing up for you. Here's another one where it's kind of like acting out, showing a scenario of a couple, and then the quiz is your tendency as a couple. And that's another good way of doing this. So there's just a lot of different ways where you can kind of talk about this. This one is talking about like mental blocks, and the quiz helps you find your mental block. Lots of different ways to talk about a topic and then tie it into a quiz where you can just make it more personal. You can offer like a personal way forward within that topic, whether it's like, what's your type, or what's the thing that's holding you back, or what's the thing that's making you feel stuck. And these quizzes, again, it's not really the same as the quizzes before. We've been doing this for 14 years, so we've been hosting quizzes for about a decade and a half. And kind of in the beginning, there was a lot of those more viral quizzes of like, oh, what type of shrimp are you, or whatever, like silly stuff. But now it's like you're talking about topics that people care about and topics that people are interested in, and then the quiz just makes it interactive for them so they can participate. So you're talking about it, that captures their attention. It's on a topic that they find to be something that they care about in their life. And then the quiz like takes it over and makes it personal to their actual situation. And I think people really like that, because then they can be involved, they can be actively involved in the process of figuring out a path forward or a solution or something that would be helpful to them regarding whatever the topic is that you're talking about. And it's done in a way where they get to choose, like they're literally choosing the answer choices on the quiz, and then that gets more buy-in from them. It's like active learning. I interviewed another career post education career coach, and she was saying that the active learning aspect of a quiz is really unique and something that she noticed. And I think she's actually working on a thesis on that now, and kind of talking through how active learning makes such a big difference. And there's also like the variety of it. I interviewed a behavioral scientist, and he was saying that just the variety of different questions asking about different things keeps people really locked in and engaged. And then of course Adam Mosseri has been talking constantly, the head of Instagram, talking constantly about how DMs are the biggest real estate now for Instagram. Like, people spend more time in their DMs than anywhere else, like more than reels, more than stories, more than posts. DMs is actually where people spend the majority of their time on Instagram. And so getting the conversation over to the DM, and you don't have to automate it at first. Like, if you want people to just comment a word and then you go in and personally respond, that's a good way of starting conversations and building connection as well. But then later on, once you have too many, you're getting hundreds or thousands of comments, that's when you can start to automate it. Now, again, I don't necessarily recommend until you're at that around 100K mark. And the reason why is that I've been doing podcast interviews for our podcast through Interact for the last year and a half now. And what I've just noticed is this pattern where around 100K is where the engagement and the number of people who would take the quiz is high enough to warrant the effort and the thought that would go into creating the quiz, because it does require like gathering a lot of conversations and thinking through the topics that you might want to use for the quiz. Of course, like AI can be helpful in that. And sometimes folks hire out to marketing consultants for that, but it does require a bit of effort. And so I think at 100K, that's where you'll start to see the numbers reflect what you want. Like, just to kind of level set expectations, on the low end that I've seen for somebody that puts a quiz into their rotation is about 500 new email subscribers in a year. And then on the high end, close to 200,000. So a huge range, but I think adding 500 subscribers in a year for a lot of businesses is a pretty substantial difference. Like, it's a pretty substantial change in terms of, like, next time you launch a product that you're sending out to your email list and you're kind of promoting it there, you'll make back way more than it costs to pay for our subscription, which is not expensive. It starts at $27 a month. And so it's not a huge upfront cost, but just in terms of making sure that the ROI is there on the cost of our software plus the cost of your time to build out the quiz, I think that's why at 100. And then of course, if you also have to kind of have that aspect of like wanting to work on the email list, because that's another big factor of this. If you're already sending out a weekly newsletter and people are familiar with that, then you start adding people to it, then it becomes really valuable. But I've seen some people where this is like the first thing that they do and they don't have that habit formed yet. And then people do subscribe, but it's kind of lost revenue. Email is a really effective platform for converting people to sales, because you try to put a sales thing on Instagram and you're just not going to get people to comment for like your $50 whatever product. They'll comment to take a quiz, they'll comment to get your new guide or join your workshop or whatever, but probably not going to comment to buy something from you. That's just not how social media really works. But in email, you have a discount, or you're running a promotion, or you're running a limited time thing, or adding people to your membership, whatever it may be. It's pretty normalized over there, especially if your content that you have on email is normally really helpful and good, and people are used to opening your emails and reading them. So I think that can be super effective. But if that muscle is not built, or the desire is not there to go to email as a channel, then obviously this doesn't make sense. So I think if you're at that 100K mark and email is something that you're investing in, you're building up systems, that's where I'm seeing people really have a lot of success. And for myself and our company, it's very advantageous for everything to be a win-win, because our software is just month to month. There's no commitments or anything. So if it's not going to work for you, then we don't make any money, and it's actually a kind of a negative ROI for us. So I'm trying to piece together what it looks like now that social media is the primary way that people are driving email list growth. When we started 14 years ago, it was all through websites and Google search. And now it's just totally different. It's like everything runs through a different platform, but it does seem like it's solidified a little bit where it's Instagram, and specifically Instagram at 100K. That's where then the quiz lead magnet become something that is really worth the investment up front to get the ROI. And typically when people create these quizzes, like I know Gretchen's had the four tendencies for at least 5 years. And I know Hadar, I believe this one's 2 or 3 years. And some of these other ones, anywhere between 2 and 5 years is the life cycle on a quiz before it can become outdated. Some of them longer than that, like close to 10 years, but it's a nice long life cycle where you can weave it into your lead magnet rotation for several years, which is worth it if you're at that level. I think the other issue, if you're lower than that, is that the audience hasn't quite solidified yet. Like it might change. And so what your audience wants might change. And it does really help when the audience is kind of more solidified. So it's like, okay, this is what my people want. This is what they're into. This is a quiz that's going to get their attention. And I don't have to worry that, like, oh, as I'm scaling up, my audience is going to shift over. So again, 100K, growing your email list. This is one of the most effective ways. I think that's what I hear over and over again from people who I interview on our podcast. Of course, it's biased because they already use our product, but they are typically not just using quizzes as lead magnets. I think that's one misconception to definitely bust, but they're using quizzes, guides, workshops, live webinars, all the kind of other things that you would associate with lead magnets. But quizzes are one of the ones that can stand out, and also it's just fun, like it's memorable for people. It helps build kind of emotional rapport and helps you to scale up some of the conversational aspects of things once you do get to that scale where you can't literally talk to everybody that has questions for you because you've just gotten too big, which is awesome. So this is what I wanted to show you. This is how people are using quiz lead magnets on Instagram, drive email list growth in 2026. And I think this will be one of the foundational pillars probably out to the late decade.